If you have ever walked into the woods and felt that sudden quiet, that drop in sound where even the birds go still, you have already stepped into someone else's territory. Not the park on the map, not the hiking trail with a cute little name, but the place that starts where the trail cameras end, where footprints fade, and the only people who go farther are the ones who get paid in thank yous and nightmares. Most people think search and rescue is heroic, bright jackets and helicopters, smiling reunion photos on local news. They do not picture the calls that come after midnight, the coordinates that do not make sense, the footprints that stop in the middle of an open field. They do not see the bodies found in places we already searched, the radios that crackle with voices we buried years ago, the things that answer when you yell a human name into the trees. Out there, not everything that needs finding is human, and not everything that looks human wants to be found. A woman sitting calmly in a ravine, confirmed dead 2 days before we arrived. A desperate voice on a dead radio, begging us not to come looking. A staircase that leads nowhere, but whispers from the top like you left someone behind. A little boy who walks out of the tree line wearing someone else's face like a borrowed mask. And a screaming shape in the fog, stuck on the edge of Switchback Ridge, calling anyone who will listen to join it on the way down. Tonight, we are not talking about haunted houses or cursed objects. We are talking about the calls that never make the news, the searches that never officially happened, the things my team found, and the things that found us first. So zip your jacket, check your batteries, and stay with your group. Because once the trail disappears and the map stops matching the ground, you are not just lost, you are on someone else's search grid. These are 5 search and rescue encounters we were never meant to survive. Kill your lights, turn your volume up, and if you ever hear your name whispered from the tree line when no one is there, do not answer. Story 1. The woman I found in the ravine, but she wasn't missing. Most people think search and rescue is all helicopters and dramatic long line extractions. 90% of the time, it is blisters, paperwork, and walking in circles through wet brush while someone cries 3 ridges over. The night I met the woman in the ravine was one of those calls that sounded boring on paper. Possible overdue hiker, vehicle at the trailhead, no note, last seen hiking solo 2 days prior, according to a coworker. The sheriff's office called us in because the woman's sister had finally reported her missing after she did not show up for a family thing. Her name, they told us during briefing, was Lauren Kinney, 32, fairly experienced hiker, knew the area, carried basic gear. The deputy put her driver's license photo on the whiteboard. Average height, brown hair pulled back, tired eyes, no visible jewelry. The picture was washed out by the projector and still somehow felt too bright in that fluorescent room. Last ping from her phone was on the western spur of Birch Trail, the deputy said, tapping the map. Signal was weak, then nothing. We will focus on that drainage and work outward. We split teams, checked packs, did the usual call and response. I was team lead with 2 newer volunteers, Adam and Jess, both good hikers and still young enough to think this was an adventure rather than a job where you sometimes find pieces of people. The weather was moving in when we hit the trail around dusk. Low ceiling of clouds, air heavy with the kind of cold that does not feel dangerous until you stop moving. The forest was that dark, mossy kind that eats sound. Even our radios seemed quieter there. We hiked in 2 hours, then cut off trail toward the ravine system that paralleled Birch Creek. It was steep, but not technical, just loose dirt and slick roots. We kept our voices up, yelling her name, announcing ourselves like always. Search and rescue. Lauren, if you can hear us, yell or blow a whistle. Nothing but the creek below and the distant echo of another team calling from the opposite ridge. By 11, we had grid searched 2 quadrants of our assigned area and were working down toward a sharp bend in the ravine. My thighs burned, my headlamp picked out nothing but wet rock and ferns. I was already thinking about how we would reassign teams during the night op when Adam's voice crackled over the radio. Team 1 to command. We have a possible visual on a subject in the ravine, south side of our sector. I froze. I could see Adam's light about 50 yards downslope, flickering through the trees. Command copies, Team 1, the radio said. Describe condition if possible. Do not approach if the scene appears unsafe. Subject appears to be sitting, responsive, I think. White jacket, long hair. Adam said. I am about 30 feet above her, whole position. I cut in. I am coming to you. I slid and half climbed down to him, hands clamping trees, boots skittering on gravel. My heart was up in my throat, the way it always is when you hear those words. Possible visual. You never know if you are 2 minutes from a happy ending or the worst thing you have ever seen. Adam raised his headlamp and pointed. She is right there. At first, I thought he was wrong. The woman sitting in the narrow cut of the ravine looked too composed, too clean. She sat perched on a flat rock like she was on a bench, hands resting on her knees, ankles crossed. Her jacket was pale gray that looked almost white under our headlamps. Her hair was dark and straight, falling around her face. She looked up at us calmly, as if she had simply been expecting someone to come down the trail. "Lauren?" I called. My voice bounced off the rock walls and came back thin. She smiled a little. "You took long enough." That should have reassured me. Conscious, oriented, speaking. Instead, my skin crawled. There was something wrong with the way her voice sounded in that space. Not the tone itself, just the way it arrived. A fraction of a second late, like a bad dub. "You injured at all?" I asked, forcing myself into protocol. "Any pain, bleeding, dizziness?" "I am fine," she said, "just tired." Her clothes were dry. That was the first thing that really pinged my brain. We had been walking through mist for hours. Every branch was dripping. We were damp from boots to hair. She sat in that ravine like she had just stepped out of a car. Jess caught up with us, breath fogging. "Is that her?" "Matches the photo," Adam murmured. It did, mostly. The shape of the jaw, the nose, the eyes. But the longer I stared, the more the differences stood out. The eyes were wrong. Not in color, or size, or placement, but in how they held us. People who have been missing for 2 days in the woods have a look. It is almost universal. Animal, bright, desperate, or hollow. She looked like someone waiting at a bus stop. "Okay, Lauren, my name is Mark. I am with Search and Rescue. We are going to get you out of here, and back to your family, all right?" "They already know," she said. "Know what?" "That I am dead." Adam shot me a quick side glance, the kind that says, I did not sign up for this level of weird. "Sometimes people exaggerate when they are scared," I said in my calmest voice. "You are not dead. You are talking to me. Do you remember how you got down into this ravine?" "I fell," she said. "It was dark. I thought the trail went that way." "Any head trauma? Hit your head when you fell?" She tilted her head, considering. "I am not sure. It was loud, then quiet, then this. Okay, we are going to come down to you. Do not move, all right?" "That is the problem," she said softly. "I cannot." We set an anchor around a tree and belayed down with a short rope because the dirt was too crumbly to trust. I went first, talking the whole way, checking for signs of hypothermia, shock, anything to explain the flat affect. Up close, she smelled like nothing. No sweat, no dirt, no forest. People smelled like something in the woods. Fear, blood, wood smoke, bug spray. She smelled like the inside of an empty room. Her skin was cool when I took her wrist to check her radial pulse. Not icy, not corpse cold, just cool. The pulse under my fingers was slow but steady, 60 beats per minute. Her pupils responded to light. Her fingers twitched when I squeezed. Everything said alive. "You said you cannot move," I said. "Are you paralyzed, or do you just feel too weak?" She looked down at her hands as if she had forgotten they were there. "I am not supposed to leave." "Who told you that?" Her eyes flicked up the ravine, to where the trees formed a jagged silhouette against the cloudy sky. For a moment I thought I saw someone standing there, a darker shadow among the shadows. Then it was gone. "He did," she said. My radio crackled. "Team 1 from command. Be advised, we have an update on the subject's status and identity. Respond when able." I pressed my push to talk. "Command, stand by. We are with the subject. She is conscious, appears uninjured, but possibly hypothermic. Stand by for more details." "Negative, Team 1. We need you to copy this," Command said, the urgency in the dispatcher's voice cutting through the static. "This is regarding subject Lauren Kinney. Her body was recovered yesterday afternoon in the main creek drainage. Coroner confirmed ID an hour ago. She is deceased." Silence in the ravine. Even the creek noise seemed to slip away. "Say again," I said carefully. "Command, please repeat last." "Subject was located yesterday, time 14:30, by Team 4. She was in the water. She has been deceased approximately 48 hours. You are not with Lauren Kinney." "Copy." I looked at the woman on the rock. She watched me with those two calm eyes. as if she was waiting to see what I would do with this information. Command. This subject matches the driver's license photo of Kinney exactly, I said. She responds to the name. She is oriented ×3, and I have a pulse at her radial. Are you sure about that confirmation? The family made positive ID at the morgue, Command said. We have her. Whatever you are with, it is not her. Use extreme caution. Jess had heard the exchange. I saw her step back a little, boots scraping dirt, rope creaking. Adam swallowed audibly. The woman smiled again, not kindly. See, she said. That is what I meant. What are you? I asked, quieter than I intended. She tilted her head like a bird. I am what finds you. Finds who? People who step off the trail and keep falling, she said. Most people fall only once. Some keep going. My mouth went dry. The ravine seemed deeper, the walls higher, the sky further away. You mean like into the ravine? Adam said from above, grasping for something rational. She looked up toward his voice. Into the dark. I checked her again because it was something to do. Pulse, pupils, breath. Every metric said human. My gut screamed something else. We are going to get you up to the trail, I said. No one stays out here overnight. You are coming with us. You can try, she said, almost amused. They did. Who? She glanced past me, further down the ravine. My headlamp beam followed. At first, I saw only rock and shadow. Then, shapes resolved, scuff marks on the walls, old rope frayed and half buried in silt, a carabiner, scarred and dull, a scrap of orange tape tied around a root, the kind we use to mark locations during searches. How long have you been here? I asked. She did not answer the question I asked. Do you remember the woman you found in the snow 5 years ago? The one who walked 3 miles with a broken pelvis before she sat down and died? My stomach flipped. I had told that story exactly once, to exactly one teammate, during a night shift, when we were too tired to keep our mouths shut. It was not in any briefing, not in any report. Do you remember the boy you lost? She continued. The one whose hat you stepped over because you thought it was just trash? You think about him a lot. Jess looked at me sharply. Adam swore under his breath. Stop talking, I said. She did. She just watched me again, like it did not matter whether she spoke or not. Mark Command said in my ear, using my name, which they only do when things are bad. We are sending another team to your location. Do not attempt to move the subject until we understand what is happening. You are authorized to withdraw to a safe distance if needed. Something in me refused that. I could not leave her sitting there. Not when she knew those things. Not when she looked so much like someone's sister. We are staying with her, I said. We will wait for backup. It was probably the wrong choice. The air in the ravine started to feel thicker as we waited. Not colder exactly, just heavy, like breathing soup. My headlamp beam seemed shorter, the darkness eating the edges. Do you hear that? Jess whispered after a while. I listened. At first I heard only the creak again and the rustle of distant branches. Then, faint, almost under the range of hearing, a sound like many voices layered together. Not talking, whimpering, begging. I could not tell if it was coming from upstream, downstream, or from the rock itself. They are still falling, the woman said softly. Who are they? I asked, because apparently I had not yet learned to keep my mouth shut around this thing. People who stepped off the trail at the wrong time, she said. People you looked for. You found some, not others. You are blaming us? Adam said louder than he probably meant to. We do what we can. We do not leave people out here on purpose. She shrugged with only her shoulders, the rest of her body eerily still. Purpose does not matter. Only the ones who keep falling. A distant headlamp finally appeared at the rim above us. Then another, then 3 more. Rock slid. Calls echoed. Someone yelled down to us to confirm we were all right. The voices in the rock quieted, fading like the tale of a bad dream. The woman on the rock sighed. They always send more of you. That is their job, I muttered. When the other team reached us, their leader, a guy named Torres who had been doing this twice as long as I had, froze halfway down the rope. Jesus Christ, he said very softly. That is her. He had done the body recovery on the real Lauren the day before. What do you see? I asked him, suddenly afraid that he might describe something different, something worse. He swallowed. She looks exactly like she did in the water, but dry. Her vitals are normal, I said. She talks. She knows details she should not. His face went a little gray in the beam of his headlamp. Do not touch her again. I looked down at my gloved hands, at the faint imprint of her wrist in my memory. Why not? Because when we pulled her out of the water yesterday, her wrist was broken in the same place you are holding now, he said. And when I look at you two, it looks like you are touching nothing. You are just standing there with your hands in the air. The ravine tilted for a second. I had to put a hand on the rock to steady myself. The woman watched us with that same faint, amused curiosity. See, she said again, it does not matter what you think you are holding. We already fell. The voices in the rock started up again, louder now that there were more of us. Pleading, sobbing, the wet gurgle of someone drowning. My radio hissed with static, then went dead. Torres's radio did the same. Up, he said through clenched teeth. Everyone up now. We retreated, clumsy and fast, scrambling on the rope, boots scraping, dirt pouring down. I did not look back at her until I was at the rim. When I finally risked it, she was still there, small in the beam, sitting on the rock. Only now she was looking straight up at me. Next time you come here, you will not be leaving, she called, not loud but somehow clear through the distance. You are getting tired. You are getting slower. One day, you will take the wrong step. I did not answer. I hauled the rope up with stiff hands, coiled it without looking at the mud on it, tried not to think about how my fingers still remembered the shape of a pulse that was apparently not there. We hiked out in silence, every snap of a twig making us flinch. The incident report we filed later was clinical. Unknown subject, female, approximate age 30. Visual hallucination or group misperception possibly related to fatigue and environmental stressors. The sheriff's office let it sit in a special folder. No one wanted to be the one who officially decided what we saw. I think about her every time I go into that drainage now. We still get calls there. People still step off the trail and disappear faster than they should. We still find some, not others. Sometimes, when I am belayed into a ravine and the walls rise up around me and the sound of the creek fills my ears, I hear them under the rock. Voices stacked on voices, falling forever. Every now and then, as my headlamp sweeps the walls, I catch a pale shape sitting on a ledge or a boulder. Calm, composed, hands on her knees, waiting. Story 2. Do Not Look for Me. A radio call from someone who should not exist. I have been doing search and rescue long enough to know the sound of a real distress call. Panic has a timbre, a certain rhythm of breath and broken words. The call we got that night did not have any of that. It was too calm. We were already out on Switchback Ridge for a missing hiker. 38-year-old male, solo, reported overdue by his girlfriend after he missed their check-in. He had texted one photo around sunrise, standing at a viewpoint with the valley behind him. Then nothing. No more pings, no more posts. By 9 at night, we had 3 teams on the ground and a 4th sweeping the fire road in case he had walked out somehow. I was at a small clearing we use as a temporary command post, sitting in the back of a truck with the radio console glowing in front of me. The forest around us was a black wall, stars veiled by thin cloud. Our standard radios are digital, encrypted, with clear audio. The voices coming in from the team sounded compressed but normal. Check-ins, coordinates, updates about terrain. Then a different voice cut through my headset. Base, this is Unit 7, copy? I frowned. We did not have a Unit 7 that night. Our team numbers were 2, 3, and 9. We had retired the old single-digit call signs when we upgraded our radios about 15 years ago. Unit 7, say again, I said, thinking maybe someone had miskeyed. The voice that replied was male, mid-30s maybe, with that weird radio flatness that makes everyone sound like they are speaking from under a blanket. Base, this is Unit 7, do not look for me. The hair on my arm stood up. There was something in the way he said it. No urgency, no fear, just a statement. Identify yourself, I said. Unit 7 is not an active call sign. Who is this? Static hissed. Then his voice again, a little clearer. Name is Samuel Drake. Call me Sam. I was on a search up here, long time ago. I am fine where I am. Do not send anyone. I know that name, is what my brain tried to say. It came with a vague memory of a photograph pinned to a bulletin board, a newspaper article yellowing in a plastic sleeve. Behind me, one of the deputies sat up from where he had been half dozing in a camp chair. What was that, he asked. I lifted a finger for silence. Sam, what is your location? I asked into the mic. Same as before, he said. The ridge above the old lookout. Wind is bad tonight. The old lookout had burned down when I was a kid. We still used the location as a waypoint, but the structure was long gone. Sam, what do you mean same as before, I asked. Before when? A pause. You were newer then, he said. Smaller team. Analog radios. No GPS. You were on the night shift when the weather turned. A scene unspooled in my memory. Not one I had lived, but one I had heard in training. A cautionary tale. 15 years ago, a search and rescue volunteer had gone missing during a storm on Switchback Ridge. His name was Sam Drake. He had been separated from his partner in low visibility and high wind. They had heard him once on the radio, saying he was disoriented. Then his radio had cut out. His body was never found. The department had changed protocols after that. Buddy system rules tightened, gear upgraded, radios replaced. Sam Drake is deceased, I said slowly. This is a recorded frequency for current operations only. Identify the unit you are with. I told you already, he said. Unit 7, the one you left up here. Behind me, the deputy made a small sign of the cross. He thought I did not see it. I switched to the other channel and keyed up. All teams, this is base. Has anyone been using legacy call signs as a joke tonight? Unit 7, 5, or 6. Teams 2, 3, and 9 all responded variations of negative and what are you talking about? Static crackled in my ear, then bled back into Sam's channel even though I had not toggled back. His voice seemed to slip between frequencies. You should not be up here tonight, he said conversationally. The fog is coming down. Ridge eats people when it does that. I took a breath, reminded myself that radios do weird things. Old signals bounce. People spoof frequencies. There were rational explanations. Sam, if this is a prank, you are interfering with an active search. That is a crime. I need you to tell me what equipment you were using and your exact location. He laughed then, a dry sound that did not match his earlier calm. Equipment is a blue analog handheld with a cracked antenna, number 42 stenciled on the side. Location is under 20 feet of dirt and rock, more or less. I stared at the console. Analog handheld number 42 had been one of the old brick radios we used before the upgrade. They had been turned in, decommissioned, and locked in a storage cabinet in the SAR building years ago. I knew that because I had one of the unserviceable batteries on my desk, repurposed as a paperweight. Can anyone else hear this? I asked the deputy. He leaned closer to his own headset. His eyes widened. Yeah, he whispered. Loud and clear. I keyed my mic again. Sam, what do you mean under 20 feet of dirt and rock? Exactly what it sounds like, he said. You remember that slide? The one on the north face? They never found the end of it. They always assumed I went off a cliff. Easier that way. A wind gust rattled the canopy above the clearing. Cloud cover thickened, the stars disappearing. I could smell moisture coming. Why are you calling now? I asked. If you have been up there all this time, why talk tonight? You called me, he said. You started searching the same place. Your footsteps sound the same. You are using different boots, but the pattern is still there. I heard your guys yelling on the ridge. I thought I would save you some trouble. The missing hiker, I realized. The one we were actually looking for. He is not with you? I asked. Not yet, Sam said softly. I swallowed. What does that mean? You have got him on your map at 3 miles from the trailhead, he said. You have his last phone ping in your grid. You have that nice digital line drawn, showing where he probably went. You were wrong. You know where he is? Yes. Then tell me. We can still get to him. It has only been, 12 hours since his last check-in? Sam hummed a little, like he was thinking. Time does not feel the same up here anymore. I hear some nights more loudly than others. Tonight is almost the same as mine. The storm, I said. Yes, low ceiling, wind on the ridge, fog creeping up from the valley. You have not felt it yet at your little camp, but your teams are starting to see it. Ask them. Almost on cue, Team 2 checked in. Base, visibility on the north side of the ridge is dropping hard. Fog bank coming up out of nowhere. We can still see our markers, but it is getting spooky. Team 3 chimed in. Same on our side, base. Wind picked up, then this fog rolled in like someone flicked a switch. Recommend we consolidate teams if it gets any thicker. I felt my pulse in my throat. Copy that. Teams, hold position and report any change in visibility. Do not push into terrain you cannot see clearly. I switched back to Sam. If you know where our missing hiker is, you need to tell me. You owed that much to the people who searched for you. Silence for a long moment. Then, you all did what you could with what you had. I do not hold it against you. But the Ridge likes certain kinds of nights. It likes people who hike alone and think a map is a suggestion. He is already close to where I ended up. Then we really need to move, I said. You said the fog is bad. Hypothermia becomes a risk. Oh, he is not cold anymore, Sam said, almost kindly. He is not anything. Listen to me carefully. You need to call your teams back to the fire road and get off this mountain. Do not look for me. Do not look for him. Not tonight, the deputy mouthed. What the hell at me? I ignored him. We do not abandon a subject, I said. We do not pull out unless there is an immediate threat to our teams. Fog is not enough. You think this is just fog, he said. As if on cue, a weird pop sounded in my headset, followed by a faint, high-pitched tone. My console flickered. For a second, all three active channels bled into one another, overlapping voices, coordinates. A burst of country music from a station 50 miles away. Then it cleared. I could hear breathing on Sam's channel, not his. A different cadence, shallower, faster, then a small, choked sob. Please, a voice whispered. It sounded like a young man, maybe 20s. Please help me. I fell. I cannot see anything. My heart lurched. Identify yourself, I said quickly. Name and location. Static swallowed the first part of his reply. The last part came through. I think my leg is broken. I heard someone yelling earlier, but now I cannot tell where anything is. Is this Daniel Harper? I asked, naming our missing hiker. Yes, he gasped. Yes, I am by some rocks. I think near a switchback. The fog, it just came out of nowhere. I stepped off the trail and everything went wrong. I cannot feel my hands. Daniel, stay with me. We have teams in your area. We are going to find you. Can you hear any water, any wind direction, anything that can help us pinpoint you? He sobbed, a horrible hitching sound. I hear wind from all sides. It sounds like it is under me. I do not want to die. You are not going to die, I lied automatically. We are coming. Base, Sam cut in. You need to stop. Get off the line, I snapped. If you send your people into that fog, they will not come back the same, he said. The Ridge has you in its teeth. It let your signal through because it likes the chase. That is all this is. A game. You will not like how it ends. Funny, I said, my voice shaking more than I wanted. You sound like someone who did not get found. I am not repeating that. I broadcast to all teams. We have possible live contact with the subject over radio. He reports leg injury and dense fog. All teams, sound off your sirens and whistles for 30 seconds on my mark, then pause to listen for response. I counted down. The forest erupted into distant wails, shrill whistles, and the occasional bark of a dog. The sound bled through the static like ghosts. Then silence. Daniel, did you hear any of that? I asked. A pause. Then no. I hear wind. I hear something else. Like. People talking in a tunnel. I do not know where you are. Describe the ground under you, I said. Rock, dirt, leaves. Feels soft, he said. Like everything is moving just a little, like I am on top of a drum. Sam spoke again, quieter. That is the slide. He is already on it. What slide? I demanded. The same one that took me when the ground decided it did not want people on it anymore, he said. You chase him. You end up in the same place. You think your maps matter down there. They do not. Lightning flickered somewhere behind the clouds. Thunder rolled a few seconds later. The wind picked up, carrying the first grains of cold rain. The deputy leaned closer. We need to think about pulling them back, he said softly. We have a storm coming in hard and they are already in fog. You know what happens to footing in that mess. I knew. I had seen too many near misses, too many broken ankles and busted ribs from people slipping on wet rock. You will lose more people trying to get to him than you will save, Sam said. The ledger is already written. I am trying to give you a shortcut to the end. Why now? I asked. Why warn us? If the Ridge is this hungry thing you say it is, why go against it? Because I still remember how it felt when you all stopped calling my name, he said. I do not want to hear that happen again, not the same way. The rain came harder then. Thick, cold drops that pinged on the truck roof and pattered on the plastic tarps. My breath fogged in the little warm bubble of the cab. In the headphones, I heard Daniel whimper. "I am so tired," he whispered. "I think I am going to sleep." "Do not you dare sleep," I snapped. "Keep talking to me. Tell me, what is your favorite place to hike?" He did not answer. "Daniel, you with me?" Nothing. My meter showed an open carrier. A line still technically connected, but no sound. Then, very softly, I heard the faint scrape of something shifting against something else, like dirt sliding, like rock settling. "Too late," Sam said. I do not remember making the decision to call the teams back. I remember looking at the map, at the narrow contour lines that pinched where the slide ran, at the fog reports, at the lightning strikes starting to show on the weather radar. I remember the weight of the deputy's gaze on me, the quiet expectation. I remember thinking that if we kept them out there, I would be sending them into a place some dead man on the radio told me was a trap. I keyed the mic. My thumb hesitated for half a second. Then I pushed down. "All teams, this is base," I said. "Due to rapidly deteriorating weather conditions and unstable terrain reports, we are suspending ground search operations for tonight. Secure and return to the fire road for extraction. Mark any hazards you encounter on your way back. We will reassess in the morning." The replies were reluctant but obedient. No one wanted to be the one to argue with lightning and fog. Sam was silent for a long moment after that. When he finally spoke, his voice was thinner, farther away. "That is good," he said. "You made a better call than my people did. This is not permanent," I said. "We are coming back at first light. You will come back to a different mountain," he said. "Fog will be gone. Slide will be quiet. You will find pieces, maybe, if the ridge feels generous. You will tell yourself a story about missteps and bad luck. You have to. It is the only way to keep coming up here." "And you?" I asked. "Me what? Do you stay on the radio now? Do you just, warn people every time it gets foggy?" He chuckled, and this time it sounded almost human. "No, most nights I do not hear anything but the wind and the rock shifting. Tonight you brushed against where I am. You will forget my voice, eventually. The story will get shorter. People will say the radio's glitched, that some kid with a scanner played a stupid trick. Memory slides too. You will see." "Sam," I said, feeling the weird urge to connect with this echo, this whatever he was. "What does it feel like, down there?" He was quiet for so long, I thought the connection had dropped. "Then, imagine falling and never hitting anything, but still feeling every rock you pass through. Imagine knowing exactly where you are on a map and knowing it does not matter because no path leads there anymore. Imagine hearing your own name for the last time and realizing it is not you they mean." The back of my neck prickled. "That sounds like hell." "It is not," he said. "Hell would imply someone is in charge. This is worse. The ridge is not malicious. It is just hungry in a way you do not have words for." The console flickered again. A sharp squeal of feedback cut through my headset. For a second I heard Daniel's voice, distant and oddly stretched, like a tape played at the wrong speed. "Do not look for me." Then there was a pop, and the line went dead. The channel went back to its normal faint hiss. I tried for another hour to raise either of them. I switched frequencies, ran diagnostics, even pulled out an old handheld from the gear trunk and scanned the band like some ham radio operator at a convention. Nothing. In the morning, the mountain looked almost benign. Blue sky, crisp air, fog burned off. Our teams went back up with fresh legs and coffee in their veins. They grid searched the ridge, the drainage, the switchbacks. They found one trekking pole, snapped in half, and a scrap of fabric caught on a branch. No body, no more radio calls. Daniel Harper's missing poster joined the others on the bulletin board. People left flowers sometimes. His girlfriend asked for updates every few months. We have none to give. The part I never put in the reports is this. 2 weeks after that night, I went down to the SAR building storage room. I unlocked the old cabinet where we keep retired gear for training demos. In the back, under a tangle of frayed harnesses, I found a blue analog handheld with a cracked antenna. Number 42 was still stenciled on the side. Its battery was swollen and crusted with corrosion. The power knob had been snapped off entirely. When I turned it upside down, I heard something rattle inside. A piece of plastic, maybe. It should not have been able to transmit anything. I keep it on my desk now, next to my coffee mug. Sometimes, when a storm front rolls in and the wind hits the building just right, I swear I see the little red transmit light flicker once, all by itself. On those nights, when we get a call to head up to Switchback Ridge and the forecast mentions fog, I take an extra moment before I key my mic for check-in. And somewhere between the static and the wind, I listen for a voice that tells me we are chasing something that does not want to be caught. If I ever hear "do not look for me again," I'm not sure whether I will listen. Story 3. The stairs we found in the woods and the voice at the top. They teach you a lot of things in search and rescue. How to read terrain, how to splint a leg with whatever you have, how to keep your own panic on a leash while someone else is losing their mind. No one teaches you what to do when you find a staircase in the middle of the forest. We were out on a training, not even a real search. That is one of the things that still bothers me. There was no missing person that day, no family waiting at home, just a bunch of us running scenarios in an area we do not normally use. The county had opened up the South Range to us for the weekend. It was farther out, less trafficked, a patch of forest that had once been the edge of some failed development. You could see it in the way the land had been cut and graded, then abandoned. Old culverts half swallowed by moss, flat terraces that were too level to be natural. We split into 2 groups. My team went uphill to practice map and compass in thick brush. The others stayed lower to work on litter carries. It was a gray day, clouds hanging low, but not cold enough for snow yet. The forest there felt muffled. Our radios worked, but even our voices sounded like they were being stuffed into a backpack. Around mid-afternoon, we were supposed to do a lost subject drill. One of the newer volunteers would go hide somewhere with a radio and a whistle, and the rest of us would practice tracking and sweeping. We picked a kid named Tyler for the subject. He was all enthusiasm and no sense of self-preservation, perfect for the role. I watched him disappear into the trees with a grin on his face and his pack bouncing. The training officer gave him 15 minutes head start, then we started. "Remember, this is about communication," the officer said. "Use your radios, call things out. Treat it like a real search. The only difference is, if you find him, you get to make fun of him on the hike out." We spread in a loose line, following the drainage up, then across, then down again, working our way through a grid that existed more in our heads than on paper. I listened for the blast of Tyler's whistle, for any sign he was nearby. An hour in, we had nothing. No whistle, no radio check-in, no yelling. Just the sound of our own boots and the distant drip of water. Base to subject, "You still with us?" The training officer called over the radio. "Give us a whistle blast if you can hear this." Silence. A flicker of static, then nothing. "Maybe he tripped and knocked the radio off his belt," someone muttered. "Or maybe he fell asleep," another said. I was team lead for my little group, 3 of us working the north side of a shallow ravine. I checked my map, checked our position, then keyed up. "Team Alpha here. We are going to push a little farther north. There is a weird flat section I want to clear. Might be an old roadbed. Copy, Alpha. Keep us updated." We climbed up out of the ravine onto a broad shelf of land. The ground leveled out, the trees thinned a little, and I could see the remnants of what might have been a road cut decades ago, now mostly consumed by roots and grass. That is when I saw the stairs. They were about 30 yards ahead, slightly off to the right. For a second, my brain slotted them into the same category as the old road, just more human leftovers. Then, the wrongness of them hit me. They were not attached to anything. Just a straight staircase, maybe 15 steps, rising out of the earth and ending in empty air. The treads were concrete, the kind you see in cheap apartment complexes, still sharp around the edges. The sides had low walls, moss creeping up the outer faces. No landing, no foundation for a building, no rubble. "Hey," Jess said quietly behind me. "Do you see that?" "Yeah," I said. "You are not supposed to see stairs like that out here, are you?" The third guy with us, Mitch, laughed under his breath. "Guess they cut the budget before they could finish the rest of the house." We approached without talking much. Up close, they looked even stranger. No cracks, no chips, no sign of rebar. Just gray concrete, slightly damp, leading up to nowhere. I ran a gloved hand along the side. It felt solid and cold. There were no footprints on the steps, no leaves settled in the corners, no pine needles. Everything else in the forest was littered with debris. The stairs looked like they had been swept half an hour ago. "Probably some old developer nonsense," Mitch said, but his voice was a little too bright. "Yeah, maybe," I said. I keyed my radio. "Alpha to base. You aware of any old structures in our sector? We just found a freestanding stairway around grid 16 Echo." There was a pause. "Negative, Alpha," the officer said. That area was never developed past the logging roads. Could be a leftover or someone built a weird campsite. Take a waypoint and move on. Copy. I should have done exactly that. Take coordinates. Crack a joke. Ignore it. Instead, I walked around to the front of the stairs and looked up. The sky was a flat sheet of gray with darker branches lacing across it. At the top, where the last step ended, the air looked a shade thicker. Not darker, not brighter, just textured, like heat haze. Do not even think about climbing those, Jess said immediately. I am not. I lied. We all stood there for a second, listening to the quiet. Then, faint, from somewhere ahead and above us, we heard 3 clear blasts of a whistle. Tyler, Mitch said. That little bastard picked a hell of a hiding spot. The sound had come from the direction of the stairs. Not from the ground beyond them, not from the trees off to the side, but from what my brain insisted was above the top step. Subject, this is Alpha. We hear your whistle, I said into the mic. Give us one more blast. Nothing. Come on, man, training is over. You win. You can come out now, Jess called. Something scraped against concrete. We all flinched. The sound was unmistakable. The rasp of a boot sole on a step. There was no one there. Okay. Enough, Mitch said. I am not in the mood for some Blair Witch stare prank. I took a breath. Tyler, if you can hear me, say something. You are close. For a moment, there was only the hush of the forest. Then a voice said, I am up here. It came from the top of the staircase, not from behind us, not from the trees, not from our radios. From the empty air at the top, like someone was standing just out of sight. Jess swore softly. Tyler? I asked. Yes, the voice said. It sounded like him, but flattened somehow, like it had been put through a filter. I am at the top. Come on up. The hair rose on my arms. I had been doing this long enough to know when my instincts were telling me to back away. Every part of my training screamed at me that this was wrong. Why did you not blow your whistle again when I asked? I said, trying to keep my voice normal. Silence. Then, I did. No, you did not. Yes, I did, the voice insisted. Maybe your radio is broken. Come up and fix it. Jess whispered. That does not sound right. He does not talk like that. She was right. Tyler usually filled the air with jokes and half-formed thoughts. This voice was clipped, each word separate. I switched to the main channel. Base. We have contact with subject by voice, but his location is unclear. He is responding as if he is above us. Advising we found an isolated staircase. Might be some kind of structure hazard. Request guidance. There was a longer pause this time. Then, Alpha. All subjects were briefed to remain on the ground and avoid climbing anything unsafe. If he has put himself in a precarious position, you need to consider risk to your team before attempting access. How high is the staircase? About 12 feet at the top, I said. It is freestanding. No rails at the landing, because there is no landing. Jess muttered, because there is no anything. Understood, Base said. Proceed with caution. Do not climb if it is not safe. I lowered the radio. My fingers felt clumsy. Tyler, can you come down the stairs to us? I called. No answer. Subject, we cannot see you. If you are hurt, say so. If your leg is broken, if you hit your head, anything, we need you to describe your injuries. A soft rustle. Then, I am fine. Just come up here. The voice was wrong now. It still sounded like him if you did not listen too closely, but the cadence was off. There were pauses in the middle of words, breath where there should not have been. Mitch stepped back. Nope, no. Hard pass. We are not doing this. I agreed with him. Every sensible part of me agreed. The problem was, if this was Tyler, and he was truly above us somehow, and we walked away, and something awful happened to him, I would never forgive myself. If I left the subject because I was scared of a staircase, I should hand in my badge. Stay here, I said. I am going to put one foot on the first step and see what happens. If anything feels off, I come back down. No heroics. Jess grabbed my arm. Mark, do not. We cannot just leave him, I said. We also cannot follow some disembodied voice into an obvious trap, she snapped. She was right. I knew she was right. But there is a line between bravery and stupidity that only becomes clear after the fact. I put my boot on the first step. The concrete was solid, gritty under the tread. No vibration, no give. I put my weight on it and lifted my other foot, committing. Nothing horrible happened. No vertigo. No shift in perspective. No sudden drop into darkness. I moved up one more step, then a third. From this angle, I could see the top more clearly. It was still empty. "See," I said, more to convince myself than them. "It is just a staircase, probably some old, weird art project." "Art projects have paperwork," Mitch muttered. "Tyler, I am halfway up," I called. "Talk to me." The voice came again, closer now, like it was just above my head. "Almost there." "Where exactly is there?" I asked. Another small silence, like it was thinking. Then, "You will see." My chest felt tight. I climbed 3 more steps. My head rose above the level of the last one. The forest beyond stretched out, the same moss and ferns and trunks. The air at the top looked no different, but it felt different. There was a pressure there, a thickness, like a sheet of plastic stretched across the top step. I could not see it, but every instinct screamed at me that I was about to push my face through something that did not want to be touched. I stopped. "Come up," the voice said softly, right next to my ear now. "I do not see you," I said. "Where are you standing?" "Right here." "Jess," I said carefully, not taking my eyes off the invisible heavy air in front of me. "What do you see from down there?" "Your dumbass on some stairs," she said. Her voice shook. "And nothing else." "Mitch?" "Same. And I hate it." I took a breath. Subject: "If you are really Tyler, tell me something only you and I would know from this morning's briefing." No answer. "Come on," I pressed. "You made that joke about the mannequin in the prop shed. What did you call it?" Silence. The forest around us felt like it was holding its breath. "Tyler does not remember," the voice said at last. The imitation was gone now. It sounded like many people speaking at once, slightly out of sync, all pushing through the same narrow space. My vision swam. I grabbed the side of the stairs. Behind me, Jess shouted, "Mark, get down. Now." Something moved in that thick layer of air. A ripple, like a hand pressing from the other side of a tent wall. The pressure pushed against my face, my chest. For a split second, it felt like there was another staircase upside down above me. Someone standing on it, leaning close. I saw eyes. Not clearly, not in detail, just the sense of eyes. Too many of them, looking down at me from a direction that did not make sense. I stumbled back. My heel missed the edge of the step. My stomach dropped. Hands grabbed my harness from behind. Jess and Mitch hauled me backward, dragging me down 3 steps at once. I hit the ground hard, air punching out of my lungs. Up above, the invisible barrier shivered. Something like a palm slid slowly along it, as if feeling for where I had been. Then the whistle blew again. 3 sharp blasts, deafening at that distance. They did not come from the stairs this time. They came from somewhere out in the trees, to our left. The normal, shrill, annoying sound of a real whistle. "Subject, this is Alpha. Blow your whistle again," I gasped, scrambling to my feet. 3 more blasts, closer now. A voice followed, breathless and human. "Over here." I twisted my ankle. We all turned toward the sound. It came from a small dip in the ground, maybe 100 yards away. We could see nothing from here but a cluster of ferns. I looked back at the stairs once. The air at the top was still again, blank. No ripples. "Let us go," Jess said. She grabbed my sleeve. "Now." We moved toward the whistle. In the little hollow, sitting on a fallen log with his boot off and his sock rolled down, was Tyler. His ankle was swollen and red. "Man, I thought you forgot about me," he said, grinning despite the pain. "Radio died, so I just sat here and kept blowing this thing like an idiot." He held up his whistle. "What frequency were you on?" I asked automatically. 2, he said. Then it stopped making noise. I figured the battery died. "Did you not hear me?" "Eventually," I said. "We splinted his ankle and helped him limp back toward the road." I kept expecting the voice to come back, to follow us, but the forest felt normal again, whatever that means. Back at base, we reported the stairs as a hazard. The training officer pulled up old plats and maps, looking for any record of a structure in that area. There was nothing. No foundations, no septic permits, no rumors. A week later, a small crew went back out with a truck and a plan to demolish the stairs. They found the right grid, the right shelf of land, the right markers. No stairs, just a flat patch of dirt and some rocks. We do not run trainings out there anymore. Officially, the area is too far from the road and not worth the travel. Unofficially, none of us want to see if the stairs are there on a different day, with a different sky, leading to an even hungrier place. Sometimes on night operations, when I crest some random rise in the woods and see a shape against the dark, my heart jumps. I think, for a second, that it is those steps again, waiting, and every time we hear a subject above us in a place that should not have a top, I remember that pressure on my face, that almost touch. I think about what would have happened if I had taken one more step. Whatever is at the top of those stairs does not need to chase anyone. It knows we come to it eventually. Story 4. The boy who walked out of the tree line with someone else's face. Missing child calls are the worst. Adults make choices. Adults know better. Kids just get lost. This one started like too many others. Late afternoon, campground at the edge of the state forest. Parents frantic. Their 8-year-old son, name of Oliver Ollie Hayes, had been playing near the tree line with a stick and a toy truck. They turned their backs to wrestle with a camp stove for 10 minutes. When they turned around, he was gone. No one had seen him leave the loop. No one had heard anything. Deputies did the first sweep, then called us when it was clear he was not just hiding behind a log. We rolled in with trucks and ATVs, the usual circus. The sun was already sliding toward the ridge. Time compresses in those moments. Every minute feels like a decision point. They showed us a photo at briefing, a kid with freckles and big eyes under a mop of brown hair, grinning with both front teeth missing. I pinned that face in my brain and hoped I would see it again in real life and not on a poster. We launched in concentric rings from the campground. High probability routes first, water sources, trails, the path of least resistance. The forest there is dense but not impossible. Lots of underbrush, small creeks, an old fire road cutting diagonally through it. I was on foot with 2 others, sweeping a section that sloped gently toward the river. It was that blue hour when nothing has a shadow. Everything just bleeds into one shade of not quite dark. Oliver, this is search and rescue, we called. We are here to help. Yell or blow your whistle if you can hear us. He did not have a whistle. Another thing that gnawed at me. City family, first camping trip. They did not know the checklist. An hour and a half in, we got our first break. A shout from Team 3, 2 ridges over. Base, this is 3. We have prints. Small shoe size headed down slope. Fresh. We are following. My heart picked up. I checked our map. If he was heading the way they said, he would eventually intersect the river, then a bend where the current chewed into a steep bank. Not good. Copy, 3 base said. Mark as you go. All teams adjust search pattern to converge on 3's track. We angled our route, cutting through thicker brush. Mosquitoes whined around my ears. My radio hissed with updates. Print's still clear. Looks like he climbed over a deadfall here. Stopped for a second at this stump, maybe sat down. Then 10 minutes later, a different call. Base, this is 3. We have visual on the subject. He is walking out of the tree line above the river, heading toward the fire road. Repeat, we have visual and are moving to intercept. Relief washed through me so fast my knees went weak. We were still half a mile away, but if they had eyes on him and he was near the road, the worst danger was mostly past. Copy 3, base said. Confirm subject condition as soon as possible. All other teams, slow to safety pace. Do not swarm the area. We still quickened a little. You cannot help it. After that sick feeling, you want to lay eyes on the kid yourself. Base, subject is on the fire road now, heading north at a walk, Team 3 reported. No apparent injuries from here. We are closing. He is not responding to verbal commands yet. Might be in shock. The fire road was straight for a good stretch there. You could see someone coming a long way off. It should have been simple. We emerged onto the road about 5 minutes later, lungs burning, clothes damp. The light was fading faster now, sky dimming to charcoal. Up ahead, maybe 200 yards, I saw 3 figures. 2 of them in bright SAR jackets, one smaller, in a blue hoodie and jeans. The kid, they were just standing there. Team 3's leader, a woman named Alvarez, had one hand half extended, fingers slightly curled like she wanted to touch but did not quite dare. Her teammate stood a bit behind her, his head tilted as if he could not quite figure out what he was looking at. The kid, Oliver, stood facing them. He was not crying. He was not talking. He was just looking up at Alvarez. Something about the angle of his head, the way his body held, made my stomach drop. We approached slowly. You got him? I called. Alvarez turned a little, her expression weirdly blank. We have a subject, she said. Subject, not Oliver. My skin prickled. I closed the distance until I was 10 feet away. Hey buddy, I said, going to one knee to get on his level. You gave everyone a scare. You all right? He turned his face toward me. The first thing I noticed was that it was the wrong face, not in an obvious horror movie way. No second mouth, no extra eyes, nothing like that. It was close to the photo we had seen. Same freckles, same general shape, same missing teeth, but the proportions were off. Just a little. The eyes were too far apart by a few millimeters. The nose was slightly crooked in the opposite direction. The ears sat too low on the skull. Each feature taken alone might have been a quirk of memory. Taken together, they added up to an almost perfect impression done by someone who had only seen the original once. And then there was the way it moved. His expression seemed to lag a fraction of a second behind the emotion they were pretending to show. When I smiled reflexively, his lips twitched up half a beat too late, like a delayed mirror. Hi, he said. The word was flat. Every hair on my arm stood up. I tried to keep my voice steady. Do you know your name? I asked. He blinked slowly. Yes. What is it? Again, that tiny pause. Then, Ollie. Last name? Another pause. Hayes. How old are you, Ollie? 8. How long have you been in the forest? He cocked his head. A while. Kids are vague. Kids get scared and forget. I knew that. I told myself that. But something in the way he answered felt less like confusion and more like someone flipping through a mental list for the right word. Alvarez? I murmured, not taking my eyes off the boy. When you first saw him, what was he doing? She swallowed. In the fading light, I could see sweat at her hairline. He walked out of the tree line about there, she said, pointing. Just, stepped out. He was not stumbling or anything. He did not look tired. He stopped when he saw us and just stared. We called his name, told him we were here to help. He did not answer until you got here. Her teammate, Dan, added quietly, and his clothes are way too clean. He should be filthy. He was right. The cuffs of the boy's jeans had a little mud on them, sure, but not the ground and dirt you would expect from hours in brush. His hoodie was mostly clean. His hair had a few leaves in it, but not many. Maybe he found the road earlier and stayed on it, I said, reaching for rational explanations. Less underbrush. Then how did he avoid everyone else on it for the last hour? Dan muttered. The boy watched our faces, his eyes flicking from one to the other. He smiled suddenly, wide, showing the gap where his teeth should have been. Found you, he said. There was something about the way he said it that made it sound like the opposite was true, like we were the ones who had been located. Do you remember leaving the campsite, Ollie? I asked, gently. Yes. How did you get from there to here? He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His brow furrowed, a theatrical little frown, like a kid playing confused rather than actually confused. I walked, he said. On what path? Through the trees. Did you see anyone out there? Any animals? Any other people? His eyes went very still. For a second the mimicry slipped. His face did not move at all. Yes, he said at last. Who did you see? You. I glanced at Alvarez. She shook her head almost imperceptibly. We have been on this side of the valley the whole time, she said. He was never out of our radio earshot. We did not see him until 2 minutes ago. Where did you see us? I asked the boy. He looked over my shoulder, toward the dark line of the forest. Between the trees, he said. In the knot place. A cold weight settled in my gut. Ollie, what is the knot place? I asked. His smile came back, too quick and too big. Home. His eyes were wrong. There was no 8-year-old behind them. There was a tension, yes, sharp and focused, but not the kind that flits around on every sound and movement. This gaze pinned and measured. Okay, I said, forcing my voice into the calm, patient tone we use with subjects who are on the edge. We are going to take you back to the campground now. Your parents are really worried. That sound good? Yes, he said. His body language did not match the word. No forward lean, no relief. He just stood there, perfectly still. You hungry or thirsty? I asked. I always ask. It is a good way to gauge condition. Hungry is normal. Refusing food after hours lost can be a red flag. He thought about it, not in a kid way, not casting around for what he wanted, but in that same strange calculating way. Yes, he said. I am hungry. What do you want? Dan asked, trying to lighten the mood. We are fresh out of pizza out here in the woods, but we might be able to scrounge some granola. The boy turned his head toward Dan. His neck movement was too smooth, like a hinge. The grin widened. Meat, he said. We did not laugh. Let us start with some trail mix, I said, my throat dry. I pulled a small bag out of my pocket and held it out. He looked at it like he had never seen food in his life. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it between finger and thumb. He raised it to his nose, sniffed once, and nodded as if confirming something. He did not open it. Let us walk, I said. We put him between us on the road and headed back toward camp. The sky darkened to full dusk. Radios crackled with base's relief when we confirmed we had the subject in hand. I kept glancing down at him. Every time he caught me looking, his expression snapped into place. Smile, thoughtful frown, kid-like curiosity. But when he thought I was not watching, his face flattened out, the muscles relaxing into something that felt more like a mask resting on a shelf. At one point, a branch snapped somewhere off the road. A little sudden sound, the kind that should make a spooked kid jump. He did not even flinch. Back at the campground, there was the usual emotional collision. Parents sobbing, grabbing, thanking everyone at once. We stepped back to give them space, watching. Ali, his mother, cried, kneeling in front of him, hands on his shoulders. Oh my God, baby, where were you? We were so scared. He looked down at her. The expression he made was almost perfect. Relief mixed with overwhelm. His eyes even shone like he might cry. He did not. His father pulled him into a hug. The boy wrapped his arms around the man's waist, squeezing with what looked like appropriate force. I watched his face over the father's shoulder. He was looking past them, over the tent tops, to the dark line of the forest where the trees crowded together. For a second, the corners of his mouth twitched up in a private smile. Our job officially ends when the subject is turned over to medical or family, depending on condition. We make sure they are physically stable, we hand off any notes, we pack up. I did not want to leave. Before we broke down our gear, I asked Alvarez, "Do you think that is him?" She rubbed her eyes. "I think his parents believe it is him," she said. "And I think if I let myself think too hard about what else it could be, I am going to have a problem sleeping ever again." We loaded the trucks. As we were pulling out, headlights sweeping over the family's campsite, I looked back one more time. The boy stood at the edge of the firelight, half turned toward the trees. For a second, his face caught the light just right, and the illusion slipped in a way that made my chest seize. It looked like someone had taken a photograph of a boy's face and stretched it over something that did not quite match underneath. The eyes sat a little off in their sockets. The skin around the mouth looked too tight when he smiled. He raised his hand, not waving, just lifting it in a small, almost absent gesture. Then he walked back into the dark, toward the tent. Officially, Oliver Hayes was found alive and uninjured after 4 hours missing in the state forest. He has no memory of where he went. He is seeing a therapist for nightmares. Unofficially, 2 months later, a ranger we know called us to chat. He had no idea we were the team on that search. He just needed to talk to someone about something that had freaked him out. He said he had stopped by that same campground on patrol and seen a kid sitting on a picnic table staring at the tree line. The kid's parents were packing up the car. The ranger walked over, made small talk, asked the boy how he was liking the outdoors. He told me he liked the trees, the ranger said. Then he said, "It is easier to see people when they do not think they are being watched." "Kids say creepy stuff," I said automatically. "Sure," the ranger replied, except when I asked him what he meant, he pointed at me and said, "Like you, right now." The hair went up on my arms again. Then he smiled, the ranger said. And for a second, I swear to God, his face looked like someone else's, like it did not fit. We did not tell him about the night we found Oliver. I still drive past that campground, sometimes on my way to other calls. If I see kids near the tree line, I watch them until they go back to their parents. I count them. I make sure the same ones come out that went in. And sometimes, in the deep brush on a search, when I feel eyes on my back and turn to find nothing there, I remember the way that boy said, "Found you." Like the forest had finally reached out and pulled something back through. I wonder how many kids go missing and come back. I wonder how many of them brought something with them, wearing their faces like a borrowed coat. Story 5. The screaming shape in the fog at Switchback Ridge. If there is one place I wish we could erase from our call-out map, it is Switchback Ridge. The mountain is just land on paper, contour lines and labels, but out there it feels like a living thing that does not care if we come back down. After the night of the radio call from Sam Drake, I tried to avoid that ridge. I volunteered for other sectors, other mountains, but you cannot dodge a place forever in this line of work. Eventually, the dispatch tones went off, and the words "Switchback Ridge" crackled over the speaker again. This time, it was a climber, mid-20s, experienced enough to be overconfident, according to his friends. They had hiked up to a viewpoint above the ridge to take photos of an incoming storm. He decided to scramble a little higher for a better angle. The fog rolled in, thick and sudden. 1 minute he was 10 yards away on a slab. The next, the fog swallowed him. They heard one shout, no words, just a noise, then nothing. They waited an hour, calling his name. They tried to walk in the direction they thought he had gone, but the fog was so dense they could barely see their own boots. Eventually they made it back to the trailhead and called for help. The word fog and switchback in the same sentence made the hair prickle at my neck, but I grabbed my pack anyway. We met the friends at the command post, got their coordinates, their track logs, their shaky, guilt-soaked statements. I did not mention Sam. I did not mention the voice on the radio telling me not to look. The weather forecast said the fog would linger for hours, maybe all night. The storm that had threatened before had shifted. No lightning, just low cloud hugging the mountain like cotton stuffed in a throat. We went up in 2 teams. I was with Torres this time, the guy who had seen the dead woman in the ravine look living. If I had to be on that ridge again, I wanted someone who had heard the same impossible things I had. The fog met us halfway up. One moment, we could see the valley below, distant lights of town like a spilled jewelry box. The next, everything went white. Not bright white, not clean. Dirty white, like breath on a cold window. Our headlamps made narrow tunnels that did not penetrate far. Sound changed. Our footsteps went from crisp crunches to muffled thuds. Radios hissed louder. Every call echoed strangely, as if the air itself was a wall. "Stay close," Torres said. "No heroics. This is one of those nights." We followed the GPS track along the trail until it diverged toward the slab where the climber had last been seen. The ground changed under our boots, from dirt and roots to rock. The tilt sharpened. The void beyond the fog felt bigger. "Subject, this is search and rescue," I called. "If you can hear us, yell or blow a whistle. We are here to help." My voice died 10 feet away, like someone had closed the door on it. The silence that rushed in after felt heavy. We moved slowly, tapping ahead with our poles, listening for any hollow ring that might indicate a drop. According to the map, there was a steep slope, then a cliff. According to my skin, there was nothing but empty under our feet. "Base to Team 1 status," the radio crackled softly. "Team 1 is on scene near last known point," Torres said. "Visibility, 5 to 10 feet. No contact with subject yet. Moving with extreme caution." "Copy. Team 2 reporting similar conditions on the lower switchbacks. Watch your footing." We edged forward. The fog around us shifted slightly, stirred by our movement, then settled again. "Do you hear that?" Torres said suddenly. I stopped. At first I thought it was just the blood in my own ears. Then I realized the faint distant sound was coming from somewhere out in the white. A scream. Not a short, startled yell. Not the sharp cry of a twisted ankle. A continuous, ragged scream that rose and fell, threaded with hoarse breaths. It sounded like someone falling forever. "Subject, can you hear me?" I shouted. "Keep screaming. We are coming to you. Can you tell us if you are on rock or dirt?" The scream did not change. No words, no shape, just raw sound. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. Above us, below us, ahead, behind. The fog bounced it around until direction lost all meaning. Mark Torres said quietly, "Check your GPS." I looked down. The little arrow that represented us sat near the edge of the contour line that indicated the cliff. The screen glitched for a second, the map flickering, then stabilized. "We are close," I said. "We have to be. Or the signal is close and everything else is lying," he muttered. The scream went on and on. Human throats are not built for that. You run out of air, your voice breaks, you choke. This had no breaks, just waves of sound, crashing and receding, but always there. "This is not possible," I said before I could stop myself. The radio hissed. For a second, through the scream, I heard another sound, a voice layered under it. "Help me." The scream swallowed the words, then spit out more raw noise. Base, this is Team 1, Torres said into the mic, raising his voice over the din. We have contact by sound. Subject appears to be screaming continuously, unknown location due to echo and fog. Request permission to use anchor and rope to approach potential cliff edge. Static answered. Then faintly, Team 1, repeat last. Your transmission broke up. We hear wind, but no other audio. I looked at Torres. They do not hear it. He shook his head slowly. Of course they do not. The scream swelled, louder now, or maybe my ears were just adjusting. It vibrated in my chest, in my teeth. It felt like it was inside my skull more than outside. Mark Torres said, "Look." He pointed into the fog ahead. At first, all I saw was white. Then, gradually, a darker shape resolved. Not clearly, not like a silhouette against a backlight, more like an absence within the fog, an area where it swirled differently. It was roughly human-sized, maybe taller, maybe stretching up and out in ways that did not match a normal body. It stood where the rock should drop away, right at the edge of the unseen cliff. Its outline rippled with the scream, like the sound was giving it form. "Is that him?" I whispered. "Too big," Torres said. "Too wrong." The shape shifted. Parts of it extended, then recoiled, like someone reaching out blindly in all directions at once. The scream rose higher. The pitch climbed past what a human voice should manage. My head throbbed. "Subject, can you hear me?" I shouted, because training dies hard. "If you can understand me, raise one arm. Any arm." The shape jerked. Something like a limb shot up, indistinct, dripping fog. Then another. For a second, there were too many arms. My stomach lurched. I took an involuntary step back. "Okay," Torres said. His voice was steady, but there was sweat on his upper lip. "We are not approaching that. No way. No rope. No anchors. We are done. We cannot just leave," I said, even as my whole body begged me to run. "Listen to it," he snapped. "There is nothing left to save there. You think that is one guy with a twisted ankle? That is something stuck in whatever this is. You go close, you get stuck too." The shape pulsed, almost in time with the scream. Each surge felt like it was pushing against the world, trying to break through some invisible membrane. The fog around it thickened, then thinned, like breath. "Base, this is Team 1, Torres said again louder. "We are aborting approach due to unknown hazard at cliff edge. Visibility 0 beyond 10 feet, and we have signs of extreme instability. Request all teams pull back to safer terrain until fog clears." The radio crackled with distorted words, chopped and thin. "Copy. Hazard. Repeat. You are breaking up." The screaming did not falter. I pressed my hands over my ears. It did not help. The sound was not going in that way. "Do you think this is him?" I asked. "The climber?" "Yes," Torres said. "And I think it is more than him." "What do you mean?" "You know how sometimes you hear more than one voice at once in white noise?" he said. "Listen closely. There are layers in that, like a choir that never stops." I did not want to listen more closely. Of course I did. Inside the main scream, deeper down, I heard others. Lower, higher, overlapping. Some of them sounded old. Some sounded like they were still trying to form words. Something in the shape turned toward us. The scream focused. The pitch changed, like a beam being aimed. Pressure built in my ears. "Run," Torres said simply. We did not run, exactly. Running blind near a cliff is suicide. But we moved fast, feet sliding on rock, hands groping for each cairn and painted blaze that marked the way back to the trail. The fog clung, resisting, as if it were a physical thing we had to push aside. The scream followed. Not in space, but in our heads. It grew fainter as we put distance and trees between us and that edge, but it did not stop. Only when we dropped below a certain elevation, when the fog thinned to mere mist, did the sound finally snap off, mid-wail. Silence slammed down like a lid. I stumbled to a halt, heart racing. The sudden absence of noise was almost as loud as the scream. "Base, this is Team 1, Torres said, breathing hard. "We are retreating to the main trail due to terrain and visibility. No further audio contact with subject. We need to regroup." This time the reply came through clearly. "Copy, Team 1. Team 2 is already pulling back. Reports similar issues. We will reassess at the junction." At the junction, in thinner air, under trees that we could actually see, we tried to explain. We talked about persistent auditory phenomena, and visual distortion of fog at cliff edge, and possible mass hallucination due to stress and low visibility. We did not mention shape that turned the too many arms, the way the scream felt like it was trying to push us out of our bodies. The incident commander, a hardened guy who had seen his share of weird, just looked tired. "We are not sending anyone near that cliff until the fog lifts," he said flatly. "I will take the heat for that. We will keep lower teams, sweeping safer areas. If the subject moved out of that zone, maybe we will find sign. If not," he did not finish the sentence. The fog did not fully clear until midday the next day. When a technical rope team finally went back to the edge, the rock was slick and dark. There were scuff marks near the lip, a few broken ferns, one glove caught on a spur. They peered over. The cliff dropped into a jumbled mess of ledges and gullies. They found nothing on the first pass. No body, no bright clothing snagged on rock, just fog lingering in the lowest cracks. Search efforts continued for days. Ground teams, dogs, even a helicopter. When the clouds lifted enough, we found nothing. The climber, name of Jason Crow, joined the ledger of the lost. Officially, the report lists contributing factors as poor decision-making in hazardous weather conditions and limited visibility leading to probable fall in inaccessible terrain. Unofficially, Torres and I do not talk about what we saw at that edge in detail with anyone else. Occasionally, after a bad call, we will have a beer in the gear room and sit in silence for a while. Sometimes, one of us will say, "Do you ever hear it?" The other will nod. Because that is the part that still gets me. The scream ended on the mountain, sure, but it did not disappear. A month later, during a different call on a calm, clear night, my radio picked up a burst of static as we crossed a saddle near the ridge. For a second, under the hiss, I heard it again. Faint, stretched, like a recording played from another room. I froze on the trail, breath caught. "Mark?" Jess said behind me. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. Radio glitched. It did it again 2 weeks after that. In my kitchen at home. I was cleaning my gear, scanner on in the background, out of habit. The house was quiet. The scanner cycled through the usual frequencies, picking up nothing of interest. Then, for 3 seconds, the room filled with the thin, distant echo of that scream. It came from the little speaker on the counter, sure, but it felt like it came from the walls, from the space behind my eyes. I dropped the cup I was holding. Coffee spilled across the tile. Then it was gone. The scanner went back to its lazy search. I changed the batteries. I checked the antenna. I told myself it was interference, a bleed from some other system, a prank, anything. But in the weeks after, I started to notice something else. Every time a call came in for Switchback Ridge, the fog forecast seemed worse than it should be. Even on nights that were supposed to be clear, low clouds would cling stubbornly to that section. People would talk about weird echo up there, about hearing things that were not there when the wind shifted. The screaming shape, whatever it was or is, feels like something caught between falling and landing. A moment stretched into forever by the mountain, a snapshot of terror held open like a wound. Maybe it is just the climber, Jason, trapped in that last second of freefall. Maybe it is everyone the ridge has ever taken, compressed into one sound. Either way, it has changed the way I hear things in the fog. On searches now, when the mist rolls in thick and the world shrinks to the circle of my headlamp, I listen hard to every distant cry. I try to tell the difference between a voice that can still be saved and one that belongs to whatever is stuck out there, screaming, not because it hopes anyone will come, but because it does not know how to stop. If you ever hike Switchback Ridge and the fog catches you, and you hear someone screaming far below or ahead or nowhere, do not follow it. Sit down, hug the rock, wait for it to pass. Because some of the things out there that sound like people are not asking to be rescued, they are asking you to join them. You have reached the end of tonight's search, the last marker on a trail that should not exist. If any moment followed you out of the woods, if a line echoed like a radio call in your head, if you caught yourself glancing at the tree line or listening a little too closely to the wind in your own backyard, do not let the story disappear here. Subscribe to join me for more lost hikers, unmarked trails, and the things that wait just beyond the edge of the map. Tell me in the comments which encounter tracked you the longest, and which one felt uncomfortably real, like a story you have heard whispered around a campfire at 3 a.m. Like the video so these calls reach others who walk the same dark ridgelines we do, the ones who know that not every voice yelling for help wants to be saved. And if you have your own story, a night in the woods that never made sense, a search that found the wrong person, a trail that ended where it should have continued, footsteps pacing your tent, or a voice in the fog that knew your name. You are always welcome to share it. Send your experience to the business email in the channel bio, and it may become part of a future Entity Shadows episode. Thank you for listening, for hiking with me through the static, the clipped radio calls, and the places on the map where the contour lines look a little too much like teeth. And until next time, keep your lights low on the trail, keep your group in sight, and remember, out there, you are never as alone as you think. And remember, the dark awaits.